Well, darling, you do look stunning. You look divine, darling.
Oh, Ethel, what is all this?
And during that time, I consider the years I spent on I Love Lucy to be perhaps the biggest ripoff of my career.
For years, everybody thought Vivian Vance had signed a contract to become heavier just so Lucy would be thinner. But all of this was a fabrication. Lucy concocted the story herself as a prank at a party, and somehow the world accepted it for years. The actual truth about what actually went down behind the cameras was grim. Vivian went through things that nobody was aware of. She reported to work with black eyes. She disliked her co-star so much that when he passed away, she popped open a bottle of champagne. The business attempted to silence these facts for decades. Now, however, all the things she wanted the world to know are finally being exposed. Vivian Robera Jones was born July 26, 1909 in Cherry Hill, Kansas. Her home life was not filled with stories or songs. It was governed by strict Methodist regulations and a mother who thought acting was something to be ashamed of. Her mother had told her that acting would land her in hell immediately. Vivian was the second of 6 children, but felt like an outsider to her own family from the beginning. Her natural flair for entertaining conflicted with her mother's views, and as often as she demonstrated her fire, it was immediately squelched. Her mother didn't merely disapprove of acting. She thought it was sinful. This engendered a battle within the house where Vivian's spirit constantly sought to emerge, but was regularly compelled to yield. That tension became embedded within her, and it would haunt her for years. When Vivian was 6, her family relocated to Independence, Kansas. That's where her fire burned brightest. She began sneaking out at night, not for enjoyment, but for liberty. She longed to perform. She wanted to sing, to dance, to be in the spotlight, even though her mother thought it was against what was right. In school, she discovered someone who didn't criticize her aspirations. A drama teacher, Anna Engelman, provided her with an opportunity to blossom. Vivian became a member of the cheerleading squad, participated in beauty contests, and even attended school with a boy, William Ing, who turned out to be a renowned playwright. But at home, nothing changed. Her family continued to try and crush her spirit. The more she performed, the more she resisted her mother's pushbacks. Her friends began addressing her as Viv, perhaps because it was freer, lighter, unshackled from the life she was seeking to leave. Then there was the turning point. She dropped her surname. She ceased being Jones and became Vivian Vance. She took Vance after a fellow named Vance Randolph who gathered old mountain tales. Perhaps she identified with those tales. Wild, untamed, not caring what others thought. She departed from Kansas and headed to Tulsa, pursuing stages as her family upped and left for other places without her. She wasn't fleeing. She was severing ties. She wasn't her mother's child anymore. She was her own person. In 1930, at the age of only 21, she became one of the original players in a little theater called the Albuquerque Little Theater. On that stage, she acted both a seductive female and a kind nun, 2 aspects of her life, so to speak. Her acting was so strong that people began referring to the building as the Vivian Vance Playhouse. The town noticed her talent and embraced her. They even hosted a benefit performance just to raise funds so she could travel to New York and learn how to act. In a small singing review, she performed My Man and was a local sensation. All that she had been warned away from was suddenly the very thing that offered her a future. With $50 in a suitcase full of hopes, she boarded a train to New York. She was a waitress by day, auditioning by night. Rejection was an ever-present companion. She would frequently forego meals just to save subway fare, but she did not give up. And in 1932, at last, she secured a chorus position in Music in the Air, a Broadway musical that lasted 2 years. Her time had arrived. Gradually, others began to see the way she moved, how she spoke, and most particularly how humorous she was. Little by little, the chorus girl was evolving. In 1937, she received a last-minute call to fill in for someone in a play titled Hoey, For What? And she wound up performing more than 200 shows. That resulted in her largest stage role in 1941 when she was featured in a successful musical titled Let's Face It, starring Danny Kaye and Eve Arden. The play performed for 547 shows, and Vivian had finally established herself. But pain did not disappear with success. She kept going even when it hurt her. She eventually got involved with another production called Over 21, which carried her all the way to Africa during World War II. She was not behind the scenes. She was the lead, but her life was collapsing. She was married at 19 to Joseph Danek Jr., hoping marriage would rescue her from the strict household. It didn't. He rode off into the sunset after 3 years and left her behind. She later married an actor, Philip Ober, in 1941. That union lasted longer, but was even more agonizing. Ober resented his wife being superior in achievement. He turned violent. He assaulted her. He made her feel tiny. Even Lucille Ball, her soon-to-be co-star, noticed and spoke up. But the hurt went deep. Vivian continued to act, but on the inside, she was shattering. In 1945, when she toured with a play entitled The Voice of the Turtle, Vivian had a breakdown. She kept it simple. Let's face it, I cracked up. She felt she was going crazy. The weight of childhood, the stress of being famous, the hurt of her marriage, it all came tumbling down. She began therapy and remained in it for years. She pieced herself back together very slowly. That experience altered her. She began to visit psychiatric wards, not as a celeb, but as someone who understood pain. She didn't attempt to heal people. She just informed them they were not alone. She continued to act. Her greatest triumph on stage remained, admit it or not. But behind the bravos lay 1,000 lost opportunities. Following a 1947 revival of The Cradle Will Rock, she relocated to California to attempt to make a film. It did not pan out. She appeared in only 2 movies, The Secret Fury in 1950 and The Blue Veil in 1951. One of the producers made her a showy striptease routine in a musical. She declined. That part went on to make Mary Martin a star. She also lost a role in Carousel because a choreographer insisted she be let go as revenge. The disappointments accumulated. Nevertheless, she did not quit. In 1951, something momentous occurred in television. 42-year-old Vivian Vance was selected to portray Ethel Mertz in I Love Lucy. It has long been thought that she signed a peculiar contract, alleging that she had to gain weight, 15 pounds to be precise, so that Lucille Ball would appear more glamorous in comparison. That contract, however, never was signed. It was simply a joke. Lucille improvised it as a joke at a party, penning ridiculous rules such as gaining 5 pounds a week and never being funnier than Lucille. But people believed it, and the fib remained alive for years. In reality, Vivian's weight simply fluctuated over the years. She was constantly dieting, and although Lucy might have hoped to appear more lovely alongside her, there never was a legitimate contract. However, that myth became one of the most well-known tales in Hollywood. Vivian wasn't a nobody actress prior to I Love Lucy. She had been working on Broadway since the late 1920s. She even filled in for the great Ethel Mertz for 2 Cole Porter musicals. By the early 1940s, she was getting lead roles on her own. In 1951, she was acting in a play in La Ola, California, where Desi Arnaz and producer Jess Onheimer spotted her on stage. They employed her immediately. However, when Lucy discovered this, she was unhappy. She turned to Vivian and informed her, "You can't play Ethel. You're my age. You have the same hair color. You're too pretty." To correct that, the crew made Vivian wear clothes that were too small and applied makeup to make her look dumpy. They wanted her to look older and less glamorous to allow Lucy to be the star. The first time Vivian encountered her on-screen husband, William Froley, she had no idea who he was. She looked over at Desi and said, "Who is that old man sitting there?" And when she was informed that he would be her husband, she smiled and said he resembled her grandfather. Froley overheard that and never forgave her. He didn't like her from the start. That resentment never dissipated, and their actual tension became show business. But she didn't only feud with Froley. Lucy and Vivian also fought occasionally. During a moment in Lucy's pregnancy, she bit Vivian's head off for being tardy. Vivian shot back, uttering something so cutting that Lucy couldn't help but giggle. They gelled as comedy double acts ever since. Their arguments might have been authentic, but they wrought magic on television. In February 1954, Vivian made history. She was the first female in television history to have won an Emmy for Outstanding Supporting Actress. She was awarded for her portrayal of Ethel in 1953, and the award established a whole new category within the Emmys. It indicated just how significant the side characters were. Vivian was nominated 3 more times in 1954, 1956, and 1957. But even with the award and fame, she felt stuck. She had once been a glamorous Broadway star, but now everyone only saw her as Ethel, the plain landlady. The Emmy made her a legend, but also trapped her in a role that she feared would never end. Money became a fight, too. During season 1, she was only making $280 a week, the same as Frawley, but by season 6, she was making $7,500 a week. That wasn't chance. It was because she had an agent who insisted on her being paid better each and every year. During those days, it was not common for women to request more money. But Vivian did not give up. When she went to work on the Lucy show in 1962, she demanded more. She wanted her name in the title, nicer clothes, and a greater say in how things were done. She was confident in her value and had no problem proving it. One of the greatest favorite moments of I Love Lucy was in 1952. It was the chocolate factory scene wherein Lucy and Ethel were operating on a conveyor belt filling chocolates. Everyone laughed at how they became frantic as the chocolates accelerated. But off camera, it was not amusing at all. The machine insisted on braking and accelerating randomly. Vivian had to continue eating chocolate repeatedly for every take. She was sick to her stomach by the end. What appeared to be sheer comedy cost an aching price. That year, Lucy shot the iconic Vitamia Tagamine commercial sketch. It appeared to be hilarious. Lucy getting intoxicated on a health tonic and muddling her lines, but it was no act. The prop tonic contained 23% alcohol. The cast didn't know how potent it was. Lucy had to swallow spoonful after spoonful, and by the end of the last takes, she was really inebriated. She was literally staggering, but those became TV history. It represented how early television sometimes drove actors to life-threatening extremes. Vivian's Emmy Award in 1953 meant a lot to her, but behind that she was in pain. She delivered a lovely speech to thank Lucy for her support and friendship, but secretly she grappled with being second best forever. She was talented, pretty, and had a voice that could fill a theater. But the world noticed Ethel. She won the Emmy at 44, but the universe rewarded her with only more of the same kind of roles. The very award that crowned her also ensnared her. In 1954, Vivian was finally able to demonstrate her musical abilities. She had been trained in opera and had a voice that could rival Broadway performers. She drove hard for Ethel-centered episodes, such as Ethel's Birthday, in which she was finally able to sing. Her voice was lovely, trained, strong, and full of grace. But William Frawley ridiculed her whenever he could, telling her she could not sing. Nevertheless, fans adored such episodes. Finally, for once, Vivian was given a chance to shine. It was a preview of the star she truly was before the Ethel tag became her identity. Fame became scary by 1956. I Love Lucy was now an international success, and fans started crossing borders. Vivian received thousands of letters weekly.